how this all started was I was in Taiwan. I mean, I'm always trying to kind of stay ahead of trends, and I knew there's like some alien trend coming, based off of all the data I was seeing. I follow a lot of different trends to try to find different ways on how to make money, like Bitcoin in 2016, then kind of like different election cycles, economic trends, just to try to just see how I can spin it to my benefit. And I've been seeing this alien trend with like secrets revealing and multiple different timelines. I got one really bad timeline with war, like on a massive scale. There's two, all three timelines have a secrets revealing, and then two other timelines have aliens in them. And I wanted to kind of push towards trying to manifest that. And when I was in Taiwan earlier this year, around January, I was thinking about like, oh, what can I do to help this? It's going to be pretty fun. If I can work on some type of alien project, I'm like, oh, what are my skill sets? I work in live streaming. I work a lot in content, and I like Web3. So what can I do? And I just decided to combine all three together. So we're making an NFT collection, building it live on the alien hierarchy structure that is ruling over Earth. We've known about this for a
That's
while.
cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. And I'm actually in Taiwan now for a month to do like a 24/7 house for 30 days to do all this research, do all these interviews, and build out the NFT project.
Wow, man, you're all in. That's amazing. I think I haven't really delved too much into like the alien aspect of it, but definitely God's existence and like spiritual realms I've kind of thought about and looked into deeply, so it'd be kind of cool to see where both our ideas kind of go together and maybe diverge. See if we can find a middle ground. So
Sure,
it'd be
sure.
cool.
How do you wanna start this?
I think maybe just defining what an alien is, right? Like, what is it that we're talking about? Like,
Yeah.
what constitutes an alien, right? I think, or unless you think there might be a better first approach.
No, I think that's okay. So at least for me, what I consider an alien is pretty much anything that is not from our planet, I guess, or maybe even like not from our dimension, plane, or realm.
Uh huh. Okay. Hmm.
How does that work for you?
We'd have to be a bit more specific. I think. Like, is it from like, for example, if it's a more spiritual end, then it would have to be. I guess what I'm asking is if there's an intelligent life in another planet somewhere else, but it's within our realm, would that be considered an alien?
I don't think there's any intelligent life in our. That's my thought. They're all coming from another realm.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, cool. How do you uh, how do you substantiate that claim?
There's no type of scientific like substantiation I could really provide. I don't think our science is on really any level where we can corroborate any of this stuff. We can only like theorize and speculate. I think our science will get to that level soon, just not right
Sure.
now. But based off of just all of the historical kind of evidence that we have from ancient civilizations to religions all over the world throughout kind of humanity's history, we we can see that there's multiple different dimensions and planes. If you try to it's pretty complex. So if you try to line up all of the information that you get from ancient civilizations, from religions, all of the religions, from government whistleblowers, the CIA, uh, disclosure documents from the government, from different governments, and you piece them all together, you can kind of piece together this information about aliens are from a different dimension. We know that there are different planes and realms in all of these different religions. All of these planes and realms are relatively similar, and there are gods and beings and entities in these realms that we aren't too familiar with, that we don't really have any type of physical evidence of being able to see outside of these historical tablets and scriptures, right? So all I did was just start to replace some of these words, like they're coming from different realms and dimensions. Just replace the realms and planes with the scientific word dimensions, and how physicists and scientists are talking about how aliens come from other dimensions. If you just interchange them, then these aliens are coming from a different dimension or a different plane. And from
No,
what we
yeah, it makes
have
sense.
from these religions, they're coming from different dimensions and planes.
No, I think it's very reasonable what you're doing. It's like it's kind of abductive in terms of reasoning. You're kind of taking sources from here, 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 and finding connections. Um, would you say that these beings would be able to transcend their realm and enter ours to interact? Would that be
That
one of their capabilities?
I think that's the theory. They're on like a much higher level. They're much more experienced. Supposedly the theory is they have much longer lives. They're more aware of their lives, and they're also more aware of their spiritual kind of consciousness
Relation.
and energy, and how to harness a lot of these energies. I think if you watch the Terrence Howard interview, I think there's a lot of things that we should start to question, because if what he's saying is real, we're basically going to be able to harness infinite amount of energy, and with this level of infinite amount of energy, there's probably infinite amount of possibilities that can happen. And one of the interesting aspects of infinite energy that I think it would be great for humans is the fact that infinite energy would probably remove the need for currency and money, which is an artificial
Yeah.
construct that we utilize to purchase energy so we can produce things that we need to produce. If you don't need to buy energy and you can produce it yourself and it's free, then kind of this need for currency will no longer exist or will slowly dissipate. We'll move to like a peer-to-peer aspect, and then this thing called money and currency that's driving greed and a lot of the sin that's tied to greed will just go away, and then we start to kind of become if you can imagine it, we'll probably like just sin a lot less. We'll be a lot less greedy, and we'll just be a lot more kind of better human beings in general. And maybe this kind of combined with the spiritual side of it will allow us to access a lot of things that we haven't been able to access before.
Mm. That's an interesting thought. I never thought about that actually. If we had access to this concept of infinite energy, hmm, that's very cool actually. Do you think that there would still be people? Because do you think it's like innate within us for there to be like a hierarchy, like within society, people just wanting more power? But if everyone has the same access to power, then how would that work? You know, so maybe
I
people just
don't
won't care. They just already have it. You know?
I don't think so. Not anymore. I used to think so. I used to think we were just like a warring species. And then when you start to look
Yeah.
into like these ancient scriptures about the Anunnaki, the Elohim, and all these different religions talking about how the gods taught us the how to craft metals, metallurgy, and then taught us how to create weapons, and then taught us how to war, and then taught us about money, math, science. If you just try to connect all the pieces together, and based off of like what Terrence Howard was showing us with that Walter Russell periodic table, if that thing is actually legit, it in theory sounds legit. We have basically been lied to by the the gods. They've given us like a incorrect type of math, and it makes a lot of sense where
Mm,
our math is based on 2D when we live in a three dimensional kind of structure. So why is our math
mhm,
all based off of 2D and like lines, straight lines, and all of these things based off of straight lines? So if
mhm.
that is the actual case, then we should be able to find some type of way to harness this energy that the gods have been talking about. This like they are able to harness this infinite amount of energy, and if they're able to do it,
Mhm.
obviously it's possible, and we should be able to do it as well, assuming that we get more kind of information on how to access a lot of this type of energy. And if you're able to do that, I think that just changes the way that humans exist. And
Absolutely, it's like the next stage of evolution, like
yeah,
literally.
I think we become the gods and these aliens that we have been depicting in these movies, where we just kind of become benevolent. Like, why would you fight with somebody? Why would you try to build up a nest egg of anything really, because when everything is pretty much at your fingertips, everything is you just produce it, and
Yeah, because
there's
you
no
don't
need
need
for
to at that
greed.
point. You already have everything.
Yeah, it,
100%. It Yeah, like why would you want to take something that you already possess, right?
yeah,
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, man. Um, there's so many ways. My brain's hit like going like 17 different things right now. We can talk about so many different things, man. There's a lot that to unpack. Like one, is there a God, and what does that even mean? This concept of greed. Is there even such thing as morality objectively, or is it all subjective? Like, can there be a plethora of gods if there is a God? Like, like where do you want to take this? Your
yeah. We can do all of them. Yeah, let's do them all.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, man. Like, okay, let's start off with like morality. Like, do you think there is objective morality?
What do you mean by objective?
Like that which is well, do you know what I mean by morality?
Yeah, I guess kind of like you're just trying to like
It's
good,
like
bad, and
yeah, it's like things that you ought to do or ought not to do. Like you ought not to steal, right? Like you shouldn't steal or you shouldn't kill or whatever have you be, right? Um, is there something that's objectively wrong in the sense that irrespective of my personal opinion, it's still wrong. So, for example, if I feel like it's wrong, if I feel like it's okay to steal, that doesn't automatically make it okay to steal. Like, objectively, we ought not to steal, right? Like, is there a kind of a framework, a standard of right and wrong, objectively outside of the human mind? There's a big debate about this. There's no right or wrong answer. Well,
yeah,
there
yeah.
should
I
be,
can tell
but
you what I believe based off of the information I've gathered.
cool. Let's
Personally,
break. Yeah,
I
let's do
don't.
it.
Yeah, personally, I don't really think there is a right or wrong. But from the the answers that I'm getting from studying all of these different religions, just to try to find the truth and meaning to everything, is that we live in a matrix, and in the matrix there are rules, and the rules say that there are rights and wrongs. And rights and wrongs, just think about like you're in a video game and you have a score counter on the top of your head. When you do good, score increases. When you do bad, score decreases. That's kind of how
Mhm.
I envision it. From all of the different religions that I've seen, there is either a loose reference to some type of illusion world that we're living in, some type of matrix,
Exactly.
some type of
Yeah,
cycle that's repeating, that is locked in forever, unless you break
absolutely.
out of it. It's in Buddhism, it's called samsara. It's also called the same thing in Hinduism as well. I think the Abrahamic religions reference it very, very loosely. It's referenced in the Gnostic version of the Bible. It's pretty much mentioned.
Actually, yeah, and it actually specifically mentions the word illusion, like in the Quran, for example. Like this world is that of an illusion. So
So yeah,
you're like you hit the nail.
that's
Yeah,
the morality aspect. If you're talking about God and gods, based off of all of the religions, I think some religions explain it a bit better. Some religions, it seems like it tries to hide it. Maybe just due to all of the translations that have been coming down. I'm not too sure. We can also get into like angels and demons later on if we get the
yeah, yeah.
info.
Let's do it. I'm so down, man. So when you say that there's a counter, right? And that it increases when you do good and decreases when you do bad. This, in a sense, is objective. Although,
Yeah,
be it in a matrix, there is still a standard that we
it's a
follow,
standard
right?
in this bubble that we live in.
For sure. So, and that standard would not be dictated by the players, but rather by the reality in of itself that we're in,
The
this
game
realm, right?
is dictated by the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so that is actually objective, by the way. So, like, just to clarify, so for example, if the game says that it's wrong to steal, right?
Hmm.
And I steal anyways because I think it's good, would my point go up or down in your opinion?
Down.
Okay, so that is objective. That's really cool, actually. Okay, awesome, man. That's really cool. So the next follow-up question that people typically have would be, uh, how can there be objective morality? How do we know? So typically, it's one of two answers. Either the individual decides, but then it's no longer objective, so that's immediately false, or society decides, which I would argue is still subjective, right? So if the rules are not set by the players, then who sets the rules? Who's the rule maker?
the I mean, the rule maker is the construct that we're in. If you consider that we're in a program, and or like some type of simulation, and the simulation dictates that anything that is ABC you get more points, anything that is XYZ you get less points, then the system is dictating it for you, and the system's created by the creator of the system.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, this whole concept of imitation or simulation, it's one of the reasons why I believe humans love movies. Like the, it's you're just imitating. It's just another act of imitation. And actually, Richard Dawkins has a thing on this. It's pretty powerful. He's like the the whole concept of humans evolving has not just been from great genetics, but also your ability to. He calls it a meme. Your ability to mimic and imitate. So it's kind of interesting how it's within our nature to imitate and mimic, right? So um, I guess if the whole thing in its totality is a simulation, what is it simulating? Would it not be another realm? Would you say?
Uh,
Like what is it? Like because Plato, for example, would say that everything, like literally everything, is just an illusion of its perfect form, and that there is another. Like for example, if I drew a like these keys, there's actually a perfect form of this key, a more perfect version, or a horse. There's a more perfect horse, and the horse we see is just like an imitation of the real horse. So it's always or would you say the simulation is on its own and it's not mimicking another? There's two views on that. There's a reason behind these questions, by the way. Like there's a specific reason. So
yeah, I'm not sure if I see it the same way. I'm guessing if you have to look at the way that the religions describe all of these different planes, there's like different levels. There's like heaven and all the way down to, let's say, heaven, semi-heaven, demigod level, human level, animal, ghost, and then hell. And there's multiple planes within some of these planes. Supposedly, our plane is only one level. I'm guessing each type of plane has some type of way to access it, and in our plane, it's more of a physical plane, and
yes,
so
yes,
that's why it's more physical. But in regards to kind of uh, how how this matrix is structured, or like why it's structured, I have maybe two thought processes. I think
yeah,
there are entities that are labeled gods, but there's also a creator, and they're
interesting. Okay,
two separate types of beings. Anything that is in the matrix, including these gods, if they're coming here, they are most likely within the realm of the matrix. They also operate under the rules of the matrix and the simulation that we're in. The creator, for the most part, it doesn't get involved at all. And from my understanding, is based off of all of the different kind of scriptures and texts. The creator created the simulation, and I don't understand why yet, but the speculation is that either one, the creator's bored and created this type of environment to experience all different types of experiences. That's one theory that a lot of people are talking about. Like, we're all different pieces of the creator. Like, you imagine like 100%, and we're all like 0.00001% of the creator that is fed into this matrix, and we're all experience different types of things. On the human realm, we're kind of experiencing a little bit of everything. And on the
hmm,
God realm, they're getting all of the good stuff. In the Hell realms, they're getting all of the bad stuff. Everybody that is a part of this matrix is just sending back emotions to the creator. So if it's kind of like the creator is bored, then the creator is getting to experience all of these different things. There's another theory as well saying that the creator created the matrix as a training ground for itself, and it split off
interesting.
fragments of itself over here to have people go through this cycle until individuals or fragments of itself can break out of this matrix and then go back to re-empower the creator. And if
Hmm,
that is the case, and the creator is seeking to become more empowered, at least my theory is the creator is not the only being out there. Well, why would you seek power
hmm,
if you're alone? Uh,
exactly.
don't know which one it is yet, but I think that is probably a little bit beyond what is necessary to learn. I think for the most part, what we should learn is how to navigate the matrix, the rules in the matrix, so you
Of
can be
course.
successful in your life. You need to know the rules in the
Exactly. Yeah.
Matrix to play the game. And then like for some people, they're at different stages of playing in the Matrix as well. I think the ultimate goal of the Matrix, how it's designed, is eventually for us to break out, but not everybody is at that stage. Everyone's at a different point in playing the game. Like I've spoken to many people that are, playing the game and they now like at least are able to comprehend that it's potentially a game. And you ask them like where are you at right now? Are you ready to break out? And most of them will
Mm.
say that they're not even interested in exploring how to play the game. They just want to play all of these games within the game, like mini games.
Mm.
We're on the
Of
Earth
course. Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
and within the Earth level and humanity level, there's a whole bunch of mini games like marriage, success, fame, and
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes one of the illusions is creating a game within the game for others to play that game, and then you feel like you're a little bit higher up and your status is a little bit better, but you are also part of that game. You know?
yeah, we're all part of the game.
Yeah.
I think the gods and
Yeah.
the demons, angels are all part of the game as well. Uh, According to the text and how they describe the Matrix, they are also part of the game. Oh,
Yes. So so the goal would ultimately be to how to escape the game, like in a
how
way,
to
or
beat
like
it?
recognize that you're in it would be how to beat the game. Yeah. So I guess from a theistic perspective, the answer is simple. It'd be to worship God. That's how you beat it, right? But you're not a theist, right? So
Yeah. So this is, I think,
feel free to push back. By the way, like I don't
yeah,
mind. Like
I don't really agree with that. I think because it depends on who you're referring to as God. The creator doesn't require
the
worship. Only the beings inside the game require worship, and the beings inside the
yes,
game.
I wouldn't say he. Yeah, I wouldn't say he requires worship. I never. I'm just saying that to beat the game is to worship him, but not that he requires it. He just puts it there as an option. If you want to worship him, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. It doesn't affect him at all. But if you want to beat it, this is how you do it.
Yeah, from my
It's just one of the
understanding,
rules,
um,
you know.
yeah, it's not that way. I think in order to beat the game, at least from what I've seen, is to follow the paths of some of these prophets, like let's say Buddha, Jesus, the ones that have particularly showcased some type of higher level
Enlightenment of some.
consciousness. Yes, in
But
enlightenment.
didn't all these enlightened people all claim the same thing to worship God, to worship one God, for the most part?
Not not Buddha. So no, Buddha definitely
Buddha,
denied.
actually, Buddha's philosophy is pretty interesting. So in Islam, there's this concept called jihad al-nafs. It basically means to like fight oneself to improve oneself. And Buddha's entire philosophy is essentially like now that you're here on earth, not that why are you here, but now that we know that you're here, here's what you need to do to improve and escalate yourself is to like challenge oneself. And this is a very fundamental aspect of like religion, is to challenge oneself. One There's a very famous quote, and this has been like passed down too. It's like if you know yourself, you know your Lord, right? So actually, if you follow Buddha's philosophy and you s- like teach yourself and you fight yourself to improve yourself, ultimately you're gonna conclude that there is a higher being that's worthy of worship. So, like, you could say that his conclusion wasn't that, but if you follow his footsteps, it'll ultimately lead to that. And even if we said that he said you shouldn't worship God, if you look at the majority of these prophets, right, the majority of them did say to worship God. So I guess why would we cherry pick on the one that said you shouldn't, right?
Yeah, so I think there's truth in both sides. I think if in a battle of good and evil you need to worship God. That's if you're playing the game. If you're not playing the game, it doesn't matter.
Interesting. Okay. Do
Because
you
like
have a
right now,
choice not to
like
play the game though?
yeah, you do. Everyone has
Like
a choice. If you
you're
want to
always
just
playing the game though.
go on the path of becoming like um I'm still trying to understand a lot of these things, so I don't feel like I'm 100% correct. I just try to get as much information. When I have enough information that makes me feel confident in that I'm in the right
Yeah.
direction, that's when I feel comfortable sharing it. And I'll never say I'm like 100% accurate, but from what I
Of course. Yeah.
understand right now is there's a battle between good and evil. Evil has been winning for a long time, and
Mm.
how these entities between good and evil gain their power is through energy. And one type of energy is worship, meditation, uh, prayer, rituals, kind of like sacrifices. And if you look out throughout the history of humanity, since almost from when we can remember everything, there's a small portion of good, but for the most part,
Mm.
we've been warring. And we've been warring. Let's say we've been dividing ourselves between borders, between skin colors, between
Absolutely, yeah.
religion, and between possessions, between almost anything you can think of. And we've been like more recently in modern day, I'm starting to see things that really are like disturbing when you try to connect it to this whole circle of how the game is functioning. Things like um, let's say porn, right? Porn is
Sure.
like something that's created and is consumed. It's something that isn't good. But if you're tracking a karma counter, that's probably not good for us, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure, man. Yeah.
yeah, like all of these different social media platforms, if you're doing it for the pure purpose of like self-interest and greed and try to attain fame, then it's probably not good for you. And it looks like almost everything that we're doing is mostly not good for us on a massive scale, like warring with different people, just conflict of all different kinds, and it just seems like that the the negative or evil side is winning. Things like, I guess I was a little uncomfortable stating it, but I'll just state it here anyway, just to be true. Like abortion, and
Yeah.
people are now talking about abortion as something that's like sacrifice. You're sac,
Interesting.
and like if you believe in these evil entities that are, which people are speculating have been in control of humanity and the upper echelons of all of the politicians and governments around the world, and they've been pushing us to pass all these different laws, giving us backward engineered technology. It looks like everything that we're getting specifically from them has not been good. All these different laws, let's say like welfare is meant to keep people impoverished, opening up borders in a way that makes no sense throughout the
Mm.
world, that's just causing havoc in all of these different countries. If you're like, there's proper ways to assimilate people, and it's not through chaos, and it's not through pissing off the local population as well. Um, in all of these different countries, it just seems like things are designed to not make any sense when you look into them. And the abortion thing, I understand. I think I can relate to it on bad circumstances happen to certain people. You don't want to affect them for their entire lives. But at the same time, if you look at it from like this religious uh, entity worshiping point of view and energy and sacrifice and all of this stuff, it seems like it's getting a little dark and deep here. But that would seem like everything we're doing is just feeding energy into these lower realms of these demonic forces. Uh, that's why if you want to counteract that, if you want to have a balance in this cycle, you probably need to worship entities and gods of some sort, because the other side is getting a lot of it for just
Exactly.
from normal
Absolutely.
behavior. Like, so you have to
Yeah.
go out of your way to empower the weaker side, which is the supposedly the good side right now.
Hmm. Would you like these entities, right? When you say they gain their power through worship, just to clarify, is it that they themselves need to worship, or that when we worship them, they gain power, or both?
I think it's both, because there's ways for you to worship yourself, and like universe kind of finds ways, or karma finds ways to um, help you. Like, and I personally believe that if you work really hard and you do all of these different things, if you believe in yourself, like good things will happen. A lot of people talk about this. This is a way of worshiping yourself. And same thing for these
Mhm.
entities. If these entities are at a more capable level of helping us, then we should probably do our best to try to empower them. Like, these are the best tools that we have to support us, right? The other side is already really, really powerful, trying to uh, support either like trying to support the humanity on a massive scale, or some of these more powerful entities as well or both at the same time would probably be different ways
Do
to
you,
help
but
us.
the, these entities though, don't you think that, well, I don't know, like, do you think that they're dependent beings or independent? I.e., like, do they need another thing that they depend upon for their existence or not?
I'm not sure.
Because if they're okay, well, this is a big question because if they're dependent, then serving them would be no good. It would make more sense to serve the one that they depend upon because there's a hierarchy. Like it's called a transcendentive dependency. For example, if I say A depends on B and B depends on C,
Hmm.
then it necessarily follows that A depends on C, right? So would it not make more sense to worship or to feed
I mean, I
the
think it,
one
it
that
goes
is
up the
higher?
chain. It goes up the chain.
But why not? But
If
why
you're
not
going
worship
for,
the
if A
thing
is at
that?
the top and you have B and C here, and then we're all worshiping B or C, B and C are worshiping A.
Right. So
Doesn't
A
matter.
ultimately has all,
Yeah, yeah.
but wouldn't
A
A have all
does.
the power?
Yeah, A theoretically would have all the power, and
So
I
why
don't
would
think
you
it
worship the
matters.
thing that's not? So
Oh.
like why would like as a human being, if you have a choose to feed an entity
Hmm.
and your logical reasoning to feed such entities because it has more power than you, then ultimately your methodology should lead you to feed the one that has all the power. Like why would you do anything other than that? You know?
Yeah, I
Like
think I'm just starting to get into some of this stuff now through like meditation and trying to find like
sure. Yeah,
my
yeah.
spirit animal and all of this stuff. And I have
That's
a
cool, man.
teacher that's teaching us on a lot of these things. From my understanding, is you can do them all at the same time, but you probably want to find uh, different different entities for different different circumstances that are more specific. People have different jobs and tasks, right? You want to find the one task that is more suitable to you. Kind of, it's like you will always want to be reaching out to the CEO, or
No,
do you?
but look, I'll let you know what I mean. It's like there's like a rule in causation. Okay, like for example, if I plant a seed and it gives me a tree, the reason why the tree is in this specific way versus if I plant a different seed is because the genetic coding of that tree is found in that seed. Are you with me so far? Okay. Now it's the same thing with cause and effect. It's like if something is the cause of another, then every single thing that the effect has, the cause must possess either potentiality or actuality. So, in other words, if you're going to say, I'm going to go to this entity because it can help me with this, well, whatever it's capable of doing, it only has that capability because the cause gave it, which means the cause now possesses that same capability, but more. To which it would only make sense if you really want to benefit us, which kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, to beat the game, you worship one creator, the one that everything depends upon, right? It has all the power in every respect. And by the way, not only that, like if you went to another entity, that entity itself would not be able to do anything without the permission from the all powerful. Because at any point, the all powerful, the creator, could just shut it all off, right? So that's why I don't know. Like, if I had to choose, you know,
But I
I would choose the.
where I kind of disagree is one, the the all powerful in the game is not the all powerful creator. I don't agree with that. I don't think the creator is in the game. From everything that I'm reading about, the creator is not in the game. The game is created for it to run on its own. And once the game is complete doing its job, you go back out of the game to the creator. There is
Yeah.
there is a big boss in the game up top, and there's a big boss in the game down below. So there's just different.
This is actually very true. This is actually it connects with there's a Islamic philosophy called Wahdat al-Wujud, and it's called like Neoplatonic thinking is actually what you're describing, which is very interesting. And Taoism kind of goes into that too. It's the idea that God creates a creator, which creates a creator, and that creator
Yes,
creates a creator, and now we have this realm. So some people would say that the universe itself is just a creator, but that was created by another creator, and so on and so forth. And there's like these realms. It's
infinite.
it's
Yeah.
actually a belief. It's a belief that I personally hold too, by the way. It's very interesting, you know, but it would be logically impossible for any of this to exist without the initial creator at
Yeah.
every given moment, which means that initial creator is sustaining everything at every moment.
Yes.
It's basically what I'm saying is this: it's logically impossible, It's which means it's contradictory otherwise for the game to exist on its own. The game can never exist on its own. That's the point. It's always going to need another. And there's a way to logically prove it. I'm happy to go into it if you'd like, but that's
Sure.
something to consider too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Feel free to
Oh,
go into it.
oh really? Okay. So, do you know what a disjunction is?
No, can you define it?
Have you ever done like computer programming at all, or?
I'm familiar with programming, but I don't program. I do work in
Okay.
tech.
Yeah, I can give you like a different syllogism, like a different one, but kind of highlights this one. So, for example, in reality, there are things that are dependent, right? Like, or let's just say the word conditional. They only exist under the condition that something else exists, right? So they need another. They're dependent. Okay. If everything in reality is dependent, right? Then then reality itself would then need to be dependent. But what does it depend upon? Anything other than reality is not real. Basically, it's impossible for there to be only dependent things. There has to be something that's independent, that's kind of like the surface that everything depends upon. So you could say the position you could hold is that the creator doesn't have doesn't play in the game, right? He has his creations that play in the game, but you can't say that the creator can ever leave the game on its own because it's built on top of him. Like everything depends upon this fundamental reality, you know. Um, like some people would say that God is existence. The Creator is existence itself, and so positing the non-existence of existence is a contradiction. And so the game depends upon existence. Even a simulation needs existence because it exists. A simulation can't exist in non-existence. So God then becomes existence, right?
Yeah, I'm not
Do you get
debating
what I mean?
whether or not I guess the creator exists. I think where we're maybe getting caught up on is the word between the creator and God. I think they're two separate things.
Okay, so what do you say? What's the difference then?
I
Like
think the
the
God in
creator is
all of
in the game,
the God in all of the scriptures and in all of the religions is the all powerful God in the Matrix. And this God is also a part of the creator.
a part of him.
Yes, just like we are. But in this construct,
Yeah. What do you mean by part though? Like what type of mereology are you
like
describing?
if there's 100%, if this creator has 100%, it split all fractions of
Yeah.
itself into this game, and the first fraction was God.
That the problem with that though is if
That's
the
what we're
creator
seeing in like these texts.
the problem that it's I guess the question I have for you, Alan, is if something's logically impossible, but the text suggests otherwise, would we go towards the text or logic
I think we need to
to give
balance both. Like right now, I think our limited knowledge and um, basically we have a lot of limitations in our knowledge. So I think it's good to keep an open mind in how
for
things are
sure,
working.
absolutely.
And like how I'm going
Yeah,
down this journey, I'm coming to the realization that a lot of things are not what they seem, and trying
yeah,
to
absolutely.
concretely, uh, I guess, define your beliefs on one thing uh, is still gonna may affect some people if things are changing.
Of course,
Um,
yeah, of course. I think people have this need to stay attached to this identity that they created for themselves. So when they say they're worshiping God, they're just worshiping this identity. So they're just themselves ultimately, you know. So it's hard to like get people away from that. But I think it's absolutely necessary. So God would be in creation, like in the game, and
Probably like one
or
of the earliest, or if not the earliest creation, and then from there, God was given like the role to build the Matrix on behalf of the creator. And
so the creator, but everything's a piece of the creator. You're
yes,
saying
yes, we're all one with the
the only
Force. We're all one with the Force. Yeah.
so.
There are
Here's a way
much
to
more
word it.
like there's Yodas and then there's like lower levels.
Of
And
course,
Yoda's much
I
higher
agree, man.
up here, and then Darth
Yeah, yeah.
Sidious is also very high up here. They're just on different spectrums.
Yo, it's very interesting because you're describing like a very like a very Gnostic, like Irfani Islamic philosophy called Neoplatonism. Like
That
I'm
I
actually
actually
kind of
came to the,
shocked.
like this. I didn't even know about the Gnostic text until last week, and then I'm just like diving all
What
into.
the hell?
I'm like, what the hell? How
That's
did I
so
come to
funny.
the same conclusion as this based off of all the information I'm seeing? It's
Yo,
like,
meditation, man. Yeah, that's what it is, bro. The thing is, the way we would word it is we wouldn't say it's everything's a piece of him or a piece of the creator because the thing is the creator would be independent. It would need nothing, right? So something that's independent cannot have parts because if it had parts, it would depend upon its constituents. And so there's P and not P. It's a contradiction. It can't be independent in one breath and then dependent on its parts in another. So the way the Islamic philosophers, what they would say is they would say
oh,
this.
why can't it still be? It's all powerful. Splitting off all of these portions of itself doesn't diminish its power in any significant way, and it can still
Exactly.
manage everything. Well, why can't
Yes.
it be something like that?
Right. So what you're describing is this. I'll tell you what I would say. I wouldn't say God has parts or the creator, sorry. I wouldn't say the creator has parts. I would say this. I would say there is a creator and the creator is existence. Okay? Are you
Okay.
familiar, by the way, quickly with essence and existence?
Help define it.
It's okay.
Existence, I
It's
think, is different from
essence.
essence. Yeah, I think it's a clear difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, essence is referring to the whatness of something, what it is. So, for example, the essence of a chair, you can say, is chairness. It has a, like, I can bring you a small chair or a big chair. They can be made out of different material, but we can both identify that that's a chair. So, things in reality have a certain unique identifier. We call that the whatness, its essence of what makes it unique, right? Okay, but it also has an existence. So everything, like this key, for example, has an essence. We know what it is, but because it exists, that it is. I know it sounds kind of confusing, but there is a distinction. So what we would say is this: we would say that everything in reality is identical in existence. Your existence is identical to the existence of the creator. Perfect identical. Everything around you, everyone's either your brother in faith or you're equal in humanity. Everything's equal in that regard. However, it's distinct in essence. So your essence is different than God, than the creator, but your existence is identical. So that's how we get around saying there's parts, because the existence cannot be divided. It's actually the same. It's even like more crazy. Like there is no point. Like you are identical to existence. Your existence is identical to God's existence. Sorry, the creator's existence identical, but your essence is different. So what you are, it's
Okay.
very like
I
that's
think
what we would say,
we're
you know?
saying the same
Same
thing.
thing, it's just a different yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Except I say existence cannot be divided into parts. That doesn't make any logical sense. But I affirm that everything is
But that's
we're
assuming
saying the
based
same
off
thing.
of
It's
what
just
we believe and know.
it's based off logic and reason. At some point, Alan, you're gonna have to bracket specific axioms to truth. Like when you decide in your heart that something is true or false, you have a methodology that you're using, right? That methodology you just assume to be true. For me, it's the classical laws of logic, right? For you, I don't know what it is, but you're gonna have to like it can't be your own subjective opinion. Like how do you know when something's true or false? Is it not logic?
Yeah, I
And
think
then if you say
logic
it's
is a
not
part of
logic,
it, but I don't
what what
understand.
what what else,
Yeah.
what else could it be
What do you mean? What else could it be?
other than logic? Yeah, like how do you know when something's true if it's not logic? Like what else could it be other than logic?
No, I agree with the logical portion aspect of it, but I think what you're saying
Yeah,
of like that of what I'm saying and what you're saying being different and one and the same, I think is kind of not really relevant to progressing the conversation.
for sure, absolutely, yeah. It was just I just think it's important to recognize if we recognize there is a creator, and we know that it's the cause of. Well, would you say the creator is the cause of all?
What do you mean by the cause of all?
Is it the did it? uh did it cause the game? Is it
The creator is
did it
the creator of the game, the
right? Yeah. So
simulation.
it's the cause
So
of
if you
yeah.
want to say it's the
Right.
cause of all, I guess that is one way of saying it, but it just depending on like, well, what you mean by the cause.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we actually agree on a lot of things, Alan. That's
Yeah, I think we agree on
I
most of it
think
all.
the more important question is like we're here now. What do we do with this knowledge, right? Like how can we advance in this game, right? I guess or
I think the first aspect is defining the the different fundamental principles of the game that you need to,
right.
basically the rules, in order to understand it. It looks like all of the religions and philosophy and pretty much any type of logical reasoning you can come to is just being a good person is how you should play the game. Another part of the game
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
at least being a good person will not have you move backwards. So
Yeah, I've always said that. Absolutely. The only thing you should do is just perfect your character, literally. Like what else? Like one of the most important things. Like what else could you do, you know?
another
Be a good
aspect that
person.
I'm coming to the conclusion of in the game is if you are the creator and you're creating this game to empower yourself or get different types of experiences, the last thing you want to do is have anyone waste. You don't want to be wasting your own time. So if you're here doing things that you're not passionate about, you're doing things that you don't believe in, you're kind of just like living an NPC life, just living to live because you don't want to die. That, from what I understand, that will not be good for you. Like even though you're not doing
Absolutely. Yeah.
bad things, you will not live a good life from what I understand. Like you'll have a lot of internal struggle, let's say, and you just won't feel fulfilled. And even though externally you'll look okay, and people will see you as a good person, you won't have any beef with anybody, but internally you're
Yeah, man.
just not going to feel great. So what the creator or universe wants you to do is chase after your dreams, and this way, like you're always, like you mentioned, always improving, be the best that you can be, and how you want to do that is kind of up to you. But there are obviously like the more experienced that you are at playing the game, the more successful you will be. And then I'm guessing the further along down you go, eventually you'll get to the point where you've accomplished things throughout many different lifetimes, and you're kind of tired of doing all of these. You've done it, most of it, or you don't feel the need to do any more, and then you kind of go the path of um, detachment and in trying to chase enlightenment and then break out of the game. That's what the my conclusion is based off of all these readings.
Yeah, man. I was gonna introduce a topic, but I know it's 9. Is it okay if I or are we?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I actually agree with you fully, but ho- I guess
I've
how
also
do we
done
know with
tarot card
certainty that
sessions on it too, and that's what it confirmed.
you did a what? Sorry.
Tarot card sessions on it as well. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. How do you? Okay, I was gonna ask that was my follow up question. How do we know the rules of the game? This is more of an epistemic issue, and I think that's important, right? I guess like if we're gonna pre-assume right that the creator set up these rules, the question then becomes how do we access those rules? I, from a theistic perspective, it would be we go to the enlightened ones that have direct access and we learn from them. And I guess what you're saying is kind of similar. It's kind of just read, get it like
Yeah,
all this knowledge and
it's
try to.
similar to what you're saying. I just see it a different way. I I know that from the scientific perspective, we're not there yet. We hopefully will get there soon. I believe we will get there soon. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but maybe in like our children's or grandchildren's lifetimes. I think we'll figure it out science-wise in a way that we'll know. But I don't think we can know until then. I think it's all about. I had a one friend tell me because I'm not religious or I wasn't religious,
Yeah, yeah,
but more recently I'm starting to think like maybe I'm starting to adopt some type of religion somewhere, but based off of all of this, but it's kind of like you have to believe. And how I determine whether or not I believe it is still through logic and reasoning. Like if I'm going to make a bet on something and all of the data that I have that is available is pointing one way, And even though I feel like I
Yeah,
don't have a large enough sample size, but I do I do have a decent size, but it's not large enough to be kind of definitive. If I were to bet, what were the chances of me being accurate? If the chances of me winning this bet are higher than the chances of me losing, then I will probably run with it. Probability says that you'll have a better
of
chance
course, yeah.
of getting it right if you go with that bet. So what what I'm seeing right now, based off of the information I have, makes me confident enough to be able to bet on the Matrix, existence, karma, and some of these rules that and fundamental principles that have been set in place throughout all of these different religions. So I'm I'm gonna roll with
That's
it for
it's
now.
very cool. It's an insane, man, because I've been doing my own kind of research, and literally what you're concluding is kind of what I'm at. It's just we worded it a little bit differently, but we I know that we mean the same thing.
Yeah,
This idea that there's something that unites all of us in terms of parthood, right? I affirm that, right? In terms of existence being identical all the way through. That there is a creator of a creator of a creator. He creates this, and then we're just another effect from another creator, which create another creator. Like,
but they're saying
which is, by the
supposedly,
way,
yeah,
yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
yeah, but they're saying supposedly us as a creation, we we have the ability to transcend much of the higher level
Yeah,
worlds.
you're literally describing. There's a philosopher called Mullah Sadra in his book called Metaphysical Penetration. He has a word for this. It's called Darirat al Wujud. It's the ability to transcend up and down along this list of realms, right? Like you're literally describing that. It's kind of crazy, man. Like, cool. It's cool to see from the outside in. Like it's probably not cool for you, but it's cool for me seeing it because like you're just tapping into like these things. It's kind of sick. It's cool.
No,
It's insane.
it's definitely for me. It's honestly, I'm very happy I can find someone to talk to because a lot of people are just not interested. I think there's three types of players. One type of player is just playing the game, and they're only interested in playing the game. They're not interested in exploring any of the rules. They're not interested in beating the game. They're just here to either just they don't know what's going on or they're enjoying all these mini games within the game itself. The second type of player is they're kind of at the point where they've played enough of the game. Now they're interested in understanding the game and trying to beat
Yeah.
it. Maybe we fall under this one, not too sure. And then there's a third type of player that has already knows the rules of the game and has been through the game multiple times and is at the point where it's like I think I'm done with the game and I want to move on. So I haven't found too many people that I can talk to about the game's principles. Most people aren't really interested. I've spoken to many people about this, good friends of mine that are willing to have this discussion. They're not interested in continuing discussion after having it once with me. And they're like, I just want to
Really?
go. Yeah, I just want to go back and play the game. They just want to go back and play the game. They want to go back, sipping their lattes, clubbing on weekends, chasing after chicks, and
Yeah,
doing all
yeah.
these
That's
different things.
crazy, man. I'd have conversations like this for like 6 hours a day, and sometimes I'd go shopping, right? And I just like listen into these conversations of like I forgot how regular people spoke. I'm like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah.
Like,
People don't
it's
want to
like,
talk about these things, and then like if we still have time, we can get into some of the deeper stuff where it's much darker. They definitely don't want to talk about these things. Where I'm telling you, like my family members are leaving group chats, and for
that's
10 to
insane,
15
man.
years, group chats, and these aren't people
Really?
that know like they know I'm intelligent. They they know that I've been getting people into like crypto since 2016 and educating people on crypto and blockchain. Try to get them into it. They were like kind of like calling me a quack and all of this stuff. I'm like, it's okay. If that's what you believe, like things will change over time, and you watch them kind of change. And then I tell them like, look, the market's gonna shift, and you're gonna see a downturn. I was telling them this in 2021. It's probably like better if you get prepared. This is
Wow.
what the data is saying, and they tell you like, oh, you're a quack. And then now it's like I'm telling them like, I'm coming to the conclusion that there's a battle being waged between good and evil, angels and demons, and these aliens are angels and
Yeah, man.
demons, and they're like, ah, you're
Absolutely.
crazy, I'm getting out of here.
That's insane, man. There definitely is, bro. There's some Islamic beliefs I know from the Shia traditions that towards the end of times, Like there's a reincarnation that occurs.
Hmm.
All the evils, all the evil people and demons reincarnate, and all the great people reincarnate. And there's like a final kind of battle that occurs, and this is like the ultimate test. And it's said that the test is so obvious for some people that it's almost as if it's written on people's foreheads of who's on which side. Like it's that clear, right? So there are some people in the end of times that are just they're able to identify the game and they're able to see which characters are what and what side they have chosen, right? There's those that are oblivious to it. There's those that know it but purposely choose to go towards the wrong side. It's a very interesting thing, and sometimes I sit down. I'm like, yo, am I the crazy one? But then I look
Yeah, I do
outside
that
and
a
I
lot.
see it.
I
Like,
do that a lot.
yeah, am I the one that's crazy? Like, I don't know, man. It's
And
just it's nuts,
sometimes
man.
I will set that aside. Like I won't throw it out. I'm like, am I the crazy one? Let me leave that here in case I am crazy. And then let me go
Yeah,
back to researching. And then you come back, yo, I wasn't crazy. And then,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it says even in like a lot of the books. I know the Quran says this too. Like the majority are the ones that are wrong. Typically, the majority opinion are is typically the one that's wrong, right? So
yeah, that's what I've
it's
experienced as well. And that's how I've made my money. I don't. You don't make like large amounts of money by following the crowd, because that's what everybody's
of
doing.
course, man. You always got to go against the grade, man. Of course. Yeah.
Yep.
My thing within me, it's like a litmus test. Is I always see what the majority of people are doing, and I do the exact opposite. It
Yeah,
works
for the
out, you
most
know.
part, I do the same thing, and it works. But sometimes they think like they think you're crazy. But I'm
Yeah.
okay with people thinking I'm crazy. Like I grew up as a, and I'm sure you'll understand. I grew up as like an immigrant in this country where I think my group of people are like less than like 5% of the total population. And then I used to be an athlete,
Oh.
very good athlete. And everyone just look at me like, yo, you're an Asian and you're like the best. Like that's not no. They come talk to me like I'm an alien. I'm like, dude, I'm just another human being like you. I'm just shade like you could be just in my position. Just because I'm Asian doesn't make a difference. And
Yeah.
we're all the same. But anyways, I wanted to get back to that topic real quick if you're okay. See if I can
Sure. Sure. Sure.
expedite it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I'm still studying a lot of this. I feel like the Abrahamic religions uh, focus a lot on the battle between good and evil and like what's happening now, and some of the other religions don't really focus on that. But what I'm seeing and outlining from a lot of the Anunnaki texts that also outline it as well. Like in the beginning, when we are created by the gods, supposedly these aliens, they created us, and they were benevolent in the beginning. They
Mhm.
helped advance humanity. Then at some point, there was like some intermingling, messing around with us, mating with us, doing all this stuff. Eventually, they wanted to stop, and some groups of these gods didn't want to stop. During that period in time, they're like, you know what? There's a great flood coming. Just let them all die, and then we stop fighting amongst each other over this primitive species. And
Mhm.
then I think one of the gods saves Noah on the ark, and humanity rebuilds. During this time, humanity is like living 1,000 years, and I think we're humans were probably like bigger, stronger, and smarter than, or at least had a better capacity than what we do now. But right after humanity is saved, we repopulate. They come back again and do the same thing. They start to like intermingle with us, and then there's a war among the gods, and there's some type of
Mhm.
battle. It seems like this war among the gods, like internally, on whether or not they should get involved with mankind, was pretty much like you. One side is like leave them alone. The other side is no, we don't want to leave them alone. They're our creation. And the side that said that they did not want to leave humanity alone, they are our creation, seems like they won. But according to the Bible, they were casted down, fallen angels. And
Yeah. Exactly. Phone. So
I
yeah.
don't know if they won or lost. They could have won and it came down on their own because they won, or they could have lost and it's like, look, then you stay down there with them. And but all we know is that they're down. They came down, and then since then, it looks like humanity. that started as one group of people split up into becoming multiple groups of people, or we started to be supposedly branded by different gods via skin color, and
Hmm.
religions were created, borders were created. Then we were taught to how to craft weapons. We were taught math and science that we believe was flawed, that didn't allow us to harness this infinite amount of energy. Then religions, all of these different things, money, which resulted in greed. Then we, over and over again, we end up killing each other. We're taught all these like laws, pretty much how to live the way that the gods wanted us to live. To the point now, we, if we pause the story there and then shift fast forward, we're supposedly based off this alien stuff. Eisenhower in the 1950s signed an agreement with aliens,
Mm.
agreeing to allow the aliens to build bases on on our planet and abduct humans, but they had to return them safely. And from there,
Mm.
we would get technology that we could backward engineer. And since the
Yeah.
1950s, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
since the 1950s, all of the technology we've gotten has mostly been weapons, the internet, which is leading to things like social media and porn. And just it looks like a lot of the different
Garbage.
things that we're getting is just like all driving us towards sin, from the beginning
Yeah.
of time until now. So the conclusion that a lot of people are getting to, like I think you saw Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and the conspiracy theorists have
Yeah.
been saying it for a while, like Alex Jones, is the the aliens control the governments all over the world, and they're actually
Yes.
demons,
Yes.
and they have infiltrated everything from the financial system to the Hollywood entertainment system to governments, through all of these different laws that are like things like the abortion law, or welfare, or propping up, let's say, like hip hop and rap, the way that it's propped up instead of propping up good role models, and driving different type of racial segregation, border segregation, religious segregation in perpetuity since the beginning of time. And all of these things are empowering them to the point
Hmm.
where good is no longer able to compete against bad, like evil. And
Absolutely, man.
yeah,
And
that's kind of where
I
I'm
think
at.
they're able to like appear like us too,
Yeah,
so you wouldn't be able to tell. You know.
that's what a lot of people are
Uh,
saying.
I
Yeah,
actually agree with that, man. Like, it's very interesting stuff, man. It's a crazy time to be alive, honestly. You know,
I think the tides are
kind of
turning
scary
though.
too.
So even though like all of this is negative, from what I'm understanding, there's like different cosmic energy shifts. Um, like if you are familiar with the Kali Yuga cycle, have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Kali space Yuga. It's like a cosmic energy shift in multiple different cycles in there, and I think it came from like the Indian culture in that region. A lot of people are referencing this huge cosmic shift of energy, kind of shifting in favor of humanity. Uh,
Mm.
happening right around now. You can see all the tides turning. A lot of these like evil people are starting to get exposed, are starting to get
Yeah.
locked up. They're they're no longer able to protect them the way that they're able to protect them. Like the machine that they've been using, which is the U.S. government on that's kind of behind the scenes manipulated by the Illuminati, the Israel, and all of this other stuff, is
Yeah.
starting to come apart. So
Absolutely. It's getting exposed. All these the general opinion from the theistic lens is that there's going to be some kind of messianic figure that appears and like leads and is like
I've heard
the
that.
leader of this major shift. I wonder, man, like, well, one, if it's true, and then two, how that would all play out, like,
It would defy everything
I
that
don't
we
know.
understand. But it depends on how the Messiah comes and presents themselves.
So like, there's a lot of narrations and like hadiths, like stories that's been written. I can only speak from like Islamic Shia narrative, but
Hmm.
this is how they described him. They refer to him as the Mahdi, which is just a title to mean the guide. Okay. Apparently, there's like 27 pieces of knowledge, 27 keys of knowledge, and apparently, as a society, we only have access to like one or two. and he comes with all 27. So everything we've all gathered is only like 2 out of 27.
Yeah, that
So
would
when he
make
comes,
sense.
he has,
Yeah.
yeah, and when he comes, he has 27. So he's going to be able to do specific things that's just going to shock us. And with that, and it's all scientific, by the way. Like, it describes how he transports himself. It's through light, so he uses probably solar power, and but a special type of it. So it's when I was reading this, it kind of sounded like an extraterrestrial being that just has access to more information than us, that's trying to shift the tides. Kind of interesting.
From what I understand, like where we all have like a type of consciousness, or you can call it a soul, and we just
Yeah.
don't know how to utilize it or harness it as well as some of these other entities. These aliens, I believe, I'm seeing a theory that I think makes sense. They're they're manifesting bodies here so that their souls can inhabit them.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So whether they're alien bodies, I think most of the time they're alien bodies, and they're probably doing some type of like technology to like mask their disguise. But I've
Hmm.
also heard things of like individuals for many years, politicians and people in Hollywood selling their soul to the devil. It took me a while to learn that. Have you heard of those things?
Oh man, yeah, yeah. I went so deep
I
down
didn't
that rabbit
believe in
hole.
it before, but I'm like, okay, now this
No,
makes
bro,
sense.
it has to be true, Alan. It has to be true, man. I
I
was looking
believe it to
like,
be true as well, but I just don't know
yeah.
how it works. Is it in this lifetime? Because they're the speculation is they're signing contracts, selling their soul, and they're getting a lot of things in this lifetime. But
Hmm.
like, then what is their soul just for eternity stuck feeding these evil entities? So there's always like empowered, or like are they taking
So
over a part of this existence? Because like they're really beneficial now. So yeah,
I think the whole idea, right, is like after you die, it's gonna be one of two things, right? Either like there is an afterlife, like heaven and hell, or there's like a reincarnation situation, right?
why
And
can't it be both?
it's a loop. I actually believe it's both, by the way, personally. I do. I believe that perhaps we are living in a form of hell, like your own form of hell, or maybe you get reincarnated into like a dog. Like if you have a dog, I have a pet dog. That dog could have been a human in another life, and maybe it was a bad animal, bad human or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah, yeah.
If it was a good, whatever it may be, you get reincarnated depending on your circumstance. I definitely believe in both personally. It's not a popular opinion. I know I'll get like
No, that's
shunned
how
by it by
Buddhism
the Islamic
describes it.
community.
Buddhism
Yeah,
describes both.
I do think it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
do think
so
it's
does
both, but
Hinduism, I believe.
yeah, yeah. So for me, it's like, sorry, where are we going for this? It was connecting to, oh yeah, how they sell their soul. So I think a human comes with like a perfect soul, a lot of energy, a lot of
Yeah.
power, right? That we don't have access to. And then what happens is these figures want access to that
Yeah.
through worship. So when you give your soul to the devil or whatever, right? You're giving him that power. Then when you die, you reincarnate into a lesser version of yourself, maybe a rock or something.
Hmm.
So you're not hurting your life now because you're only reaping benefits. You hurt your life in the future. So
Yep.
you're essentially saying I would rather this life over the potential of progressing into a far better. But that can only happen through like iterations of constantly choosing the next one and the next one and the next one, right? It's very interesting stuff, man. Like
Yeah, yeah. That's
so,
my same theory
you
as
know.
well, but we still need a bit more information on this. But I know it's getting late
Yeah,
your
well,
time. It's just like super dark for you over there.
no, I'm just in the car, hanging out. Cool. But Alan, I really appreciate you, man. You're very different, different and very unique individual. It's actually a breath of fresh air, honestly. Like
You should
you should be
ask
very
Kazi. I
proud of
don't
yourself,
think
man.
Kazi has seen this development. When we were talking like maybe a year and a half ago, he Kazi was talking about the creator being God, and he was like telling me to providing me his perspective, and then I just wasn't in agreement. I said I don't know, I don't know, I don't really, I'm not there at that level yet. I
Fair
can't
enough.
agree with you. In
You
a
know.
year and a half, I'm like, oh, yo, Kazi, I think you're right. Things are,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
learning a
crazy,
lot
man.
more, and yeah, it would be
What's
great
what's
if we could all chat together at one point.
Yeah, man. What's interesting for me is like I'm like reading, diving deep into the stuff, but you're kind of like tapping into it, and we get the same conclusion. That's what's kind of shocking, you know.
A lot of
So
people are coming
I
to the
got I
same
got
conclusion. Yeah.
I gotta do what you're doing, man. Like I don't know what the hell you're doing. I gotta get a piece of that. Like
I'm
what do you
also
do? You just
meditating.
meditate?
No, no, I'm
Okay.
using the shit out of ChatGPT, and I'm also meditating every single day, um, trying to reach the astral realm. I'm watching a lot of stuff, trying to understand. I'm looking into aliens. Like, if you look into aliens, you look into conspiracy theories, you look into religions, you look into ancient civilizations, and all of that stuff connects together. All of it. And then you just see, like, from the
Absolutely.
beginning of time, like we were created by good, benevolent beings, and then they had an internal struggle. They realized that they wanted to mess around with us too much, and then evil started to appear with them. They fought, the evil side won. They came down here and started doing all this evil and manipulating us, and then have been steering us towards feeding them energy
Yes.
for
Yeah.
thousands of years, to the point where, like, we don't even understand who we are anymore. And we like, for 99% of our existence, we've ever known who we are because we've been forced to do something else, instead of being
Yeah.
who we are. And
Absolutely.
I'm excited to get to the point of understanding what humanity can be, and I think it will be soon, relatively soon. We'll start to head down that path.
In our lifetime, Alan, mark my words, you'll see.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah,
be in
and
our
I agree.
lifetime.
I agree. But
Yeah, it's happening.
yeah, it was great having a chat with you,
Cool,
Moshi.
man. Yeah,
We should
likewise, Alan.
definitely try to do this again later. And
Yeah, with Kazi involved too, would be cool.
yeah, definitely. But
Yeah,
hope you have
cool.
a great rest of your night, and I'll catch up with you, hopefully soon.
Cool. Thank you, Alan, so much. Bye.
Bye.